My name is Brianna Newhart, and I'm also known as a recovered Republican. So I appreciate you coming on. So why don't you start off with just introducing yourself?
Thank you for having me on, first and foremost, and it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Hunter Collins. I am running for state representative here in District 68 in Southeast Indiana. That is Dearborn, Ohio, and Switzerland County, and just a sliver of Jefferson County because this place has been gerrymandered to all hell. Uh, so, a little bit about me. I'm 28 years old. I am a father to a 9-year-old little girl. I actually adopted her, took her in when she was a month away from turning 3 and adopted her when she was, oh gosh, 6, 5, 5 or 6, right around there. It's all a blur. It was a long, very long time. I got married last year to my wife, Haley. She is a administrator for one of the local schools here. She does like the state reporting, and she basically is in charge of making sure the school gets its funding from the state, which is becoming more and more difficult every single day. I work for Amazon. I've been working to organize a union at Amazon's largest air hub for the past 2 years. We have won a lot of really great victories. I came to this building specifically to help organize the union. We've won a lot of things, some of the biggest raises that Amazon workers have seen. We've won increased translation services for our immigrant coworkers, and we have saved over 800 jobs at our facility. We've done some really great work there. I kind of helped us with the affiliation vote with the Teamsters. So we're now officially a Teamsters campaign. We started out independent. Um, so yeah, now that movement is spreading all across the country, which is really exciting to see.
That's great. That is so great. And I am so happy to hear you adopted that little girl. I'm a first steps therapist, so I am just like
Oh, cool.
all about the little kids, and I'm like, yeah, there's so many little kids that need good homes, and I'm so happy to hear when people do that.
Yeah, it was an incredible. It's been incredible. Definitely way harder than it should be. Way more expensive than it should be.
But
Uh,
maybe if you're a representative, you can help that.
I would love to help that because I was living in Kentucky when I adopted my daughter. I'm not sure how Indiana works, but in Kentucky, when you go to finalize the adoption, you have to file a disclosure that tells the court how much you spent in legal fees. And I want to say that ours was around $25,000
Well,
that we
that's
spent.
low. That's low
So. And
comparatively.
yeah, and that, it was a relatively easier case, uh, but it's still, 25,000, 3 years of our life of being scared of losing her. It was a lot. So
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
glad
It's
that everything worked out. And
it's a lot in Indiana too. Like I know that there are laws that if unless parents sign away their rights, you have to wait until they're two before you can adopt them.
really, that's interesting.
Yes, unless they've signed over their rights. That's the only exception, or the judge has determined that their rights are terminated, but usually they don't do that before they're two. And I know that if you want to adopt an infant, it's at least 50 grand.
Wow, that
Yeah.
is, whew,
Yeah, it's a
that's a
lot.
lot. Yeah.
It's a lot. But back to that, it's just like giving you a little bit of my knowledge. But so you are running for state representative. Now that encompasses basically everything that goes on in our state, right? You would be voting on all the laws.
Yeah. State representative, yeah, it's the House of Representatives for the state of Indiana. So we would be working on the state budget, passing different laws, uh, working within the regulatory system as the legislature, through all the committees and everything like that. So there's a lot that goes into the job, and there's a lot of uh, ability to make things happen and make change in our state with this seat, which is one big reason why I decided to run for this office.
Yeah, because it's a red seat right now, correct?
Correct. Yes, it is a seat that is currently held by a freshman legislator, Garrett Bascom.
Okay.
He's only a year older than me. Very well educated. He went to law school at, I can't remember off the top of my head, but very well educated, smart guy who has basically spent his entire adult life working to get into politics and plans to have his career be in politics. So essentially, he has. if you go to his website and look at his platform, it is the most cookie cutter Republican platform that you could ever imagine.
Copy
And
paste.
he votes accordingly.
Hmm.
He votes right along party lines. He never steps out of line. He has so far uh, really not done anything of substance in his first year, in the first session. He did get a law passed that requires county jails to cooperate with ICE,
Oh,
but
good.
the you know, which is awful in its own way, but also it's just an ineffective and badly written law. And like
Mm,
even the county sheriffs all across the state were like, "What's the point of this legislation?" So, uh, we're running to really change the narrative in Indiana.
okay.
We're running to show that Indiana is more than what people think it is, and that Indiana is more progressive than what people think it is. Um, a lot of this boils down to the fact that people like progressive policies, but they don't know what those policies are, and they don't have a strong candidate to communicate those policies. So we're so far changing the narrative in a really good way. I've had a lot of really great conversations with people, and even had some diehard Republicans say that they are going to vote for me in the next election. So,
Oh,
that is
wonderful.
that's where we are with trying to change the narrative of what it means to be.
We've been told for our entire lives, at least for I have, that, Democrat votes in Indiana don't matter. And that's not true. Our voter turnout is just horrible.
Absolutely. I believe, I could be wrong. Do not quote me on this, but I believe Dearborn County is, which is the county that I live in. I believe their voter turnout last year was something around 19%,
Yep, that sounds
which
about right.
is just, it's one of the lowest in the state,
Yeah,
but that's kind of the nature of the entire state.
yeah. I
The
was
entire state is low.
Oh, yeah. I mean, usually in primaries, we only have turnout in Indianapolis, where I live. It's like 20% for primaries. And then it's like
Yeah.
it's like 68 is the highest we've ever had for a general election. So it's a big problem in Indiana for sure. But I did want to ask, like, tell me why you decided to run. What made you decide I am going to get rid of Amazon, just go towards this instead?
Yeah. So, fun fact, I am still working at Amazon. I work full time as well as trying to run this campaign. I made a video on my page
I
recently about
saw.
kind of what that day looks like, which is insane, especially with Prime Week happening right now. It is
Yeah.
insane. But what made me decide to run for this office was the biggest part was my daughter, right? She's 9 years old. She's growing up in this world that is increasingly becoming hostile to her. She's continually losing her rights. I don't want her to grow up like that. I want her to grow up in a state, in a country where her rights are protected and she is respected as a woman and where she can grow and thrive and prosper. And I know there's so many other kids out there who deserve the same thing. All of our kids deserve a chance. And that's something that hits really close to home for me. And that's one of my biggest reasons why I decided to run for office was to build a better future for my daughter and for kids all across the state.
Okay. I like that. If we're going to we say we care about kids, you need to care about kids their entire life, not just when they're inside the mother.
Right. Being pro-life does not mean just protecting a fetus. It means, supporting these people throughout their lives and giving them opportunities to thrive and to be contributing members of society. And that's what I feel like the role of government should be, is it should be a system that lifts people up
Mhm.
rather than pushing them down or limiting their growth opportunities.
Yeah, for sure. Do you know much about Medicaid benefit cliffs?
Benefit cliffs. I'm not super familiar with that term specifically, but
Okay, it's totally fine. It's not talked about enough. That's why I'm bringing it up.
yeah.
Um, so, benefit cliff is when you are on services through the government, and there's a point where you make too much money to receive services, but you don't
Okay.
make enough money to get those services on your own.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That. I understand. Yeah, I know that concept. I'd never just never heard it called a cliff
No,
before, but
yeah, it's okay. It's totally fine. I'm not here to judge. I am like, people need to stop being so hard on people in general. So,
absolutely.
I'm here for from a perspective of educating people. So the problem is that we have a big cliff in Indiana, and that actually causes people to stay on benefits for longer because it doesn't incentivize them to work their way off of benefits. Because essentially, it's like you're losing money if you come off of benefits. And I'm just like, I want to bring that to your attention mainly because I hope that you win. And I hope that you can maybe address some of this in the state house because that's a big issue.
Yeah, and that's something I'd love to talk about, more of kind of the policies that we're running on because at the end of the day, we are running a campaign that is built on policy, that is built on putting working class folks first,
Okay.
and is built on the idea that corporations and the 1% need to pay their fair share. They need to and that we should be building a system that again lifts people up, right? So some of the issues that we're talking about on this campaign are of course the cuts to Medicaid. I believe that every single Hoosier deserves to have the access to affordable health care, and that means all Hoosiers for all kinds of health care. So that includes women who need reproductive care. That includes trans folks who need gender affirming care. All of these things are part of what makes a full encompassing healthcare system. And what our current state government is doing is they're pushing people toward death.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
Whether directly or indirectly, people may say, "Oh, well, there's no direct medical harm of a trans person not getting their gender care." Well, trans suicide rates are they're one of the highest demographics that commit suicide,
Absolutely.
and that is a real problem. And again, you cannot say that you are pro-life if you do not care about the life of all humans.
Absolutely.
I don't care what your race, gender, creed is. You are a human, you are our neighbor, you are a Hoosier, and you are an American. And that is what matters. And that is why we have to lift each other up and build each other up.
Absolutely. I love that. But tell me about some of your other things. I did go on your website and you did mention some healthcare, but you also talk about wanting to legalize cannabis.
Yes. We are in the state of Indiana, we are an island of cannabis prohibition. Every single state that borders us has legal cannabis. So, what that means is we are losing tax dollars to every other state for the purchase of cannabis. Um, it has been shown study after study that cannabis is less harmful than alcohol. It has many more benefits, a lot of medical benefits, and it's something that genuinely helps people that we have just arbitrarily decided that, no, it's a hard no, it's a moral issue. And all that just stems from the panic back in the 80s with Ronald Reagan and, that whole system, right? So it's time for Indiana to move forward on that. It's time for us to legalize cannabis. I believe in legalizing it both medically and recreationally, and I believe in implementing an excise tax on it. Michigan puts an excise tax of 10% on their cannabis. I think Indiana should be somewhere close to that. Uh, Possibly more so around 8% is kind of where my calculations and what I've looked at would make sense. And it would make us really competitive, right? So that would allow folks from other states to come into our state and purchase it. Again, it's about building that competition. We border a lot of states. There's a lot of people on the outskirts of our state that would drive across state lines to purchase if it made more sense for them. And that's one of the ways that we can bring in that revenue. And some of the proposals that we talk about, this is one of the ways that we can build that revenue for those programs. And there's some stuff that we've been working on that isn't on the website yet that I'd love to talk about. Uh, But yeah, we've got some really exciting ideas and bold ideas to bring to the state house. And yeah, it's people are excited.
No, that's awesome. No, I do think it's far past time that Indiana legalized cannabis in both senses. I also just read an article that the issue with like the CBD oils and stuff that we have here is that it's not regulated and we don't know what's in it. And some of those things that they're putting into them are actually causing the respiratory issues such as the popcorn lung that other e-cigarettes cause.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so we're refusing to do this, but we're allowing this to continue. That is going to hurt Hoosiers. It's going to cause more lung disease. And again, we already have one of the most expensive healthcare costs in the nation. And I'm like, why?
And the use cases for cannabis medically are so far reaching. I mean, just think about how much money we could save on other medical treatments by legalizing, even if we did only legalize it medically.
Hmm.
The amount of money that we would save in our healthcare costs would be enormous from
Hmm.
allowing people to take this medicine that grows on God's green earth.
Hmm.
I mean, this comes straight from the world that God created. I don't know how you can argue against the use of it. It's been used for millennia,
Yeah.
by people. So, and it only became an issue,
Thanks to Reagan.
relatively recently.
Yeah. Reagan and the war on drugs, and then Bill Clinton kind of perpetuate that a bit.
Yes.
And we're still living in especially in Indiana, especially in the rural areas, they still have the idea of it's the devil's lettuce and that it's a gateway drug and all of these things. So, do you guys have a plan to combat some of that misinformation and misconception?
Yeah. So our plan is we're working on building a coalition across the entire state for many of our policies. Um, this is something that is incredibly popular among people in our state. Um, but it's something that it's a hill that they're wanting to die on, right? So what we're trying to do is we're going to take this one step at a time, right? Um, One of those steps is going to be just legalizing it medically. We can start there and work our way up. Or what another option that we can do is decriminalize it to start out. That would be a huge benefit for so many Hoosiers. If cannabis was decriminalized, we would save so much money in prison costs. We would obviously be incarcerating way less people. Dearborn County specifically has the harshest penalties for cannabis possession in the entire country. It is outrageous how just locked in our county prosecutor is and our county sheriff is on cracking down on cannabis use. I mean, I know somebody who went to jail for 6 months for having just a couple of joints in his pocket.
Seriously?
That's, yeah, and that's the environment that these people are trying to create. And it's an environment of control. It's not an environment of freedom, it's an environment of control.
And that's why these conversations are important because like I think that people because me living in Indianapolis where it is decriminalized, it has been because of Ryan Mears. And the fact that you guys but then on the other side of it, you guys have the most strict laws. It just doesn't make sense. I'm really tired of feeling like we have different rights in different areas.
Oh, 100%. It's and down here specifically, we run into something where we feel very disconnected from Indianapolis. We border right up against Cincinnati, Ohio. So many people are um, in tune with Cincinnati news, but they're not in tune with what's happening in Indianapolis. They don't know that cannabis is decriminalized in Indianapolis. They don't know these things because they're getting their news from Cincinnati. And that's how a lot of different parts of the state are. So, that's something that I want to bring more attention to my constituents down here is what's going on in Indianapolis, what's going on throughout the state. And again, it's building those. relationships with legislators from across the state, um, and working together to find common ground solutions. And that's, we're big. I'm big on common sense and finding the common ground. I know there's, those folks that will not budge on anything, right? And unfortunately, our governor and lieutenant governor are those kind of people. But when support is so strong, and if we can make it make sense, it'll be really hard for them to say no, right? And that's what, when we work these kind of things into budget bills, and we work to incorporate this more naturally into the flow of legislation, we can win these kind of victories.
Mhm.
So um, that's where, the hard work comes in. We have to we have to work to get these things passed, and we have to be smart about how we're legislating them. We can't be, um, you know, we have to be smart. Essentially, we have to play our cards right to get these kind of things passed.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, we're working on building a coalition across the state that will work with us to get these kind of things passed.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people in Indiana struggle because they want to see big changes and you really can't do it that way. It really has to start a little bit compromised
Yeah,
and you have to incrementally work your way. That's how we ended up in Indiana where we are right now. Is
right.
incrementally it's gotten more and more conservative over time and we just need it to start going back in the other direction at this point.
Absolutely. And we're running on some big we're running on some big things, right? Um,
Tell
but
me
a
more.
lot of our big things are things that are going to take a little bit of time.
Mhm.
And that's where we are going to continually fight for these things. We are going to defend the rights of Hoosiers in that process. And we're not going to back down from a fight, even if it's a fight coming from within,
Yeah.
right? We have to work for the people, not for, party leadership, not for big donors. We have to work for the people. That's our whole tagline with this campaign is that we're fighting to make progress for real people, not just the powerful. And that's really what this is all about. It's coming together as a community, realizing we are getting screwed from the top down. And something has to be done about it. And it starts with real people running for office.
Yeah.
I do not have a college degree.
Okay.
I did some college, but I wasn't able to graduate because of monetary reasons. And that's a whole issue that we can,
That's a
I could
whole
talk about.
thing.
Right. Um, I work at a warehouse. I work 10-hour days. I know what it's like to be in that environment. I know what it's like to struggle. My mom raised myself and my two older brothers all by herself. And she is an absolute badass for that. And I love her and I respect her tremendously because she did everything she could to make sure that we were taken care of in the best way that she was able to.
Yeah.
But, that meant that once a month we went to the food bank. That meant that all of my clothes were hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
That meant that I wasn't able to go on all the cool field trips because we just couldn't afford it.
And that
And
will
so,
never be a thing. It drives me so crazy.
exactly. And that's, my opponent, Garrett Bascom, he has lived a very privileged life. He went to college, went to law school. When he graduated law school, he went to work for the Attorney General's office. He came back after he quit the Attorney General's office. He came back, he started his own law firm, and now he kind of just got handed a state representative job. So that's he hasn't lived the struggle
Hmm.
of everyday Hoosiers in the way that someone like me has. He hasn't, he hasn't had to go to the food bank.
Nope.
He hasn't had to um, request, try to. He hasn't. His mom didn't have to request food stamps, and just to find out that she made 50 cents more an hour than she uh, could to receive them. These are the real life experiences that Hoosiers deal with every single day. And it's getting worse and worse. And that's what we are fighting to change. We're fighting to make people's lives actually better. We're running a campaign where people are voting for something, not just against it.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me the things that you are most passionate about in your campaign.
So, a couple of things that we've been working on that we haven't actually gotten to out onto the website, but it's things that I'm extremely passionate about and that I wanted to get out there. I just needed to put together a way to convey this, right? But we're finally there. And what it comes to is one of my biggest focuses is universal pre-K. I believe that every single 4-year old should have the access to pre-K. It shows as a net benefit every single time. It reduces crime. It causes better scholastic outcomes. It creates harder working, smarter kids at the end of the day.
It
It is
pays
a net,
more tax revenue.
yes. So this is something that, yes, it costs money, but we are giving handouts to corporations, so many handouts to corporations every single day that the money that we are losing from that, and Meta building their data center here, right? That's gonna there we are gonna give them so much free money. And
It,
what are we gonna get in return for that? Something that uses a ton of electricity and something that uses water and doesn't really return much in the form of jobs or things like that. So we believe that refocusing our tax structure to be more in line with our neighbors and to be more in line with successful states. Because let's face it, we are not successful right now. We are not we are not growing in the way that we should be, and that's a real shame. And when we talk about, you know, corporate taxes getting, corporations getting too many tax breaks, the fact of the matter is, Maryland pays, I believe, I think it's 8.75% corporate tax.
that's it.
We only pay 4.9.
Oh, it's less than that now. It's gone down because they have a structure now that will lower
Right.
it to like three something.
Yeah.
It's
So,
insane.
but Maryland has a higher GDP than us. Maryland has eight more billionaires than we do.
They're supposed to.
People always talk about, oh, if you raise taxes on the wealthy and corporations, they'll just leave. No, they won't. And if they do, where do they go to? They go to places that actually tax them more because the quality of life is better. Our quality of life in Indiana is not good. We rank so low in so many aspects. And so if we can build our quality of life here, we can attract more businesses. Why don't businesses want to open up factories in Indiana as much? Well, it's because nobody wants to live here. And you can't really have a factory without workers. Uh, that's the long-term thinking that we have to get into the mindset of instead of focusing on these short-term wins that our current state legislature and governor are so focused on. They're so focused on owning the libs or, whatever nonsense, saving a little bit of money for their wealthy friends and donors that they can't see the future. They can't see what the future could look like if we actually took care of people.
Yeah, and I think that the thing that just astonishes me about MAGA in general is that they all are talking about times before Reagan when America was great, is when they say. And I'm like, oh, so
Right.
you mean when we taxed the rich and corporations appropriately and had public safety nets? And that pensions were available and that you could raise a family of four on one income.
Right. They want to talk about family values.
Yeah.
Talk about the family values of only needing one income to survive and allowing, you know, mothers or fathers the opportunity to possibly stay home with the kids and be a homemaker. Uh, we don't get those kind of opportunities in this day and age because the greed of corporations and the greed of the 1% has taken it away from us.
Mhm.
And we have been duped into the idea of trickle down economics that, uh, oh, if we just give all these handouts to the wealthy and corporations, eventually it'll come to me. It never does because they're going to keep that because that's what they do. They are profit driven. They are profit seeking. They will do anything to make a buck. And that is where we have to change the minds of people and change their thinking to realize, hey, these issues aren't about right versus left. They aren't about anything else other than the 1% versus everyone else.
Right. And that's the thing. I'm like, I don't understand why people are voting for people who are just voting for legislation that is for the top 5 or 1%. I'm like, I want somebody who's going to vote for the 95% of us.
Yeah,
Not it's that simple. That is what it is. It's like it's that simple at this point. It's like, are you going to vote for the 95% of Americans, or are you going to vote for this very small elite group of people? Because that's all I really need to know.
exactly. And our campaign is based on the issues that matter to Hoosiers and not the issues that matter to the top 1%, you know?
That's good.
And these issues, honestly, these solutions, even if the wealthy and elite want to complain about them, it's going to benefit them in the long run.
Yes.
These
Yes.
kind of things benefit all of us because when the quality of life is better, there's less crime, there's less, uh, there's less issues within our state, and we can actually grow and prosper together instead of dividing and having the 1% conquer us.
Right.
So, our campaign is focused on, yeah, legalizing cannabis, getting that tax revenue, using it in a smart way, fixing our infrastructure to um, get it up to the level that we deserve, lowering taxes for working folks instead of giving those handouts to big corporations. We pay the fifth highest gas tax in the entire country.
Yep. Where is that money? Where is it?
Exactly. Kansas has a very similar amount of roads as we do.
Mhm.
They pay half of the gas tax that we do. And they are neck and neck with us in road quality. So, exactly. And
I'm,
that's,
I'm
when
I'm serious. Sorry. This is something that I just think people we need to keep saying is that we need to follow the money, because something is
absolutely.
so messed up with our budget. It's crazy because I already knew that about the gas tax. I don't know if you knew this, but electric vehicles, and I have a hybrid.
Yeah.
So it's like if you pay a hybrid or if you have an electric vehicle, you are already paying a premium on your registration every year.
Yep.
And that is also supposed to be going to roads. And then in counties like St. Joe County, for example, they have a wheel tax on top of that they have to pay. And I'm like, where is all this money going? Because it's sure not going to our roads.
Yeah. It's not going to our communities. It's not going to make our quality of life better. Yeah, it's going to the
It's going
to
to the bank.
bronze helipad.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and that's again when these people want to talk about being the party of fiscal responsibility, they have to back that up. And we
Yeah.
have to hold their feet to the fire.
Yes.
Listen, if you're going to talk about fiscal responsibility, you're going to make this make sense. Explain how we were in a surplus last year, but now we're in a deficit, and you cut benefits and you've cut services for so many Hoosiers. Explain that to me. Because they can't.
No.
Because they've given handouts to their rich donors and to their rich friends, and they've given benefits to themselves, and they've left all of us behind.
And they've raised their own pay to be the highest paid governor in the Midwest and then the top 5 highest paid governors in the nation.
And Braun gets a helipad and Beckwith gets a $110,000 SUV or however much it costs.
90,000. And
Uh,
then he got a Tesla that was 70,000.
oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. on our taxpayer dollars.
Exactly.
So,
And don't even get me started on Diego Morales and his BS.
oh gosh, yeah, I so many
It's
things
all
can be
going
said
to
about that.
his all of our money, I think, is going to his European trips and vacations. That's what I think is
Right,
happening.
I'm sure of it. And
So,
you're
but
this, you're in Indiana. You don't need to be out of Indiana unless you're maybe in one of the neighboring states working together on solutions. I'd be okay if he was making trips over to Illinois to work with Illinois on, some common ground goals. I'd
or
be
go
okay. I'd understand that.
or
But
go to
instead, he's
Kansas.
choosing all this random stuff to do.
Yeah,
So,
I don't understand it. It's very frustrating. It is, I think people are fed up. But I'm curious to hear, what do you say to Republicans that get them to vote for you? I'm just curious.
what it boils down to is we are appealing to an anti establishment mindset that so many Republicans are in. Because that's why Donald Trump won. That's why he won in 2016. It's why he won in 2024. People are tired of the establishment. They're tired of the status quo. They want change at any cost. We see it with many different campaigns all across the country. Zoran Mamdani won the Democratic primary because he was running on bold change with direct policy that he was able to back up. And that is what people are wanting. That's what they're aching for. So when we talk to people who aren't Democrats, and we talk to them in the way that me and you are talking right now, like normal people. I'm not talking at them with this pre-scripted, perfect way. I'm telling them, and I'm looking them in the eye, and I'm saying what our government is doing. Excuse me for saying that. That's bullshit. You know, we are talking to people like normal people. We're using the language that is, that we all are used to using instead of some prepackaged nonsense. And we're showing them that again, it's us against the elite. And with that kind of messaging, people are coming on board and they're getting excited. And they're getting excited about a candidate, especially in this region, who's actually talking about being for something and talking about running on actual policies instead of owning the libs and getting rid of woke and all this other stuff. We're talking about making the price of gasoline lower. That's something that Trump ran on in 24, and that's one of the reasons he won.
And he didn't do
And
anything.
he didn't do it. Where we are, and like speaking of the gas tax, where our district is, we border Kentucky and Ohio.
Okay.
And, Kentucky's a 10-minute drive for me. If I go across that bridge and go over into Kentucky, my gas is 30 cents cheaper. And I work in Northern Kentucky. I only fill up over there.
That's so ridiculous.
I got gas, actually, and it can sometimes even be more than that because today I got gas at Costco, which, is usually cheaper anyway, but it was like $2.68 and gas over here is like 3.09.
Yeah. Do you
So
have to pay tolls? Someone wants to know.
not not here. I know over toward Louisville they have a toll bridge, but over here it is not tolled. Kentucky does not have tolls up north like that. I believe it's only really like in the Louisville area and maybe farther south, but like northern Kentucky, we don't really have any toll roads. And that's a whole other thing is they're talking about putting more tolls in. And again, fifth highest gas tax in the country. And you're saying we can't afford to fix our infrastructure, so we need to implement these tolls.
The
Tell me
math.
why.
The
Make
math.
the math make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't add up. There is something going on. Someone has to be embezzling something somewhere is what it boils down to.
Yeah.
Because there's just no way that we don't have the money for this unless they are just using it for things that they're not supposed to be using it for. That is where I'm like, why is this waste, fraud, and abuse not getting weeded out? Why is
Right.
it that we can't follow the money? Because we're trying to put it on, Medicaid and stuff. But the thing is that if you look up where waste, fraud, and abuse comes from in Medicaid, it's from providers, not the patients.
Exactly. And you know, that's such a huge problem nationally. And that's why I believe in a Medicare for all system.
Oh
That's
yeah,
why I believe in a universal healthcare, a single payer system. And that's a issue that's higher than this office, but there are things that we can do to combat that here in the state. We can have more oversight on these things. We can have someone to investigate providers that are putting in phony claims, that are charging $300 for two Tylenol tablets. And that's the kind of waste, fraud, and abuse that we should be tackling, not just kicking people off of healthcare and letting them die.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I think that
yeah,
people just really, I think that there's also a big problem with when the act or the big beautiful bill, whatever you want to call it, was passed. People did not realize that they were on Medicaid, and they were putting on Facebook specifically that they were so glad that they are on this other thing, and I'm like, that is Medicaid.
right. It's just the state's name for it, right? Like,
Yeah,
so, yeah. And it's so many people of so many different backgrounds and walks of life that are on these programs, and it's hurting seniors, it's hurting children, and it's hurting every single one of us because they haven't talked about it here, but with the cuts, Kentucky, I think, is going to close 35 rural hospitals because of the cuts, because they're just not going to have the support from Medicaid to stay open.
yeah. No, I
How
know that
long until that hits us?
it's going to hit us in about 2 years.
Exactly. And so if we don't do something to stop that, people are going to lose their lives.
Mhm. Yeah, and people, and I've explained this, and I will say it again because I know you understand it because you're saying it, but I'm saying it for everyone else that when rural hospital close, people will die because it takes longer to get health care. So if you get in a car accident and you have to drive an hour, there's a good chance you're not going to make it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll kind of relay a interesting, tidbit about where we live. In Dearborn County, there's this town called Dillsboro, and Dillsboro has an EMS department. They've got a couple of ambulances, but they are a volunteer EMS department, and they do not have enough people to operate it.
Yeah.
What that has boiled down to is that cities two towns over sometimes have to use their EMS system to come support Dillsboro. Someone who lived 2 blocks away from the station had to wait 30 minutes for care just because there wasn't the funding or the oversight for that EMS department.
Yeah, and it's going to
That's
get,
something that I'm not okay with.
no, that's not okay. It's not okay. It's going to get worse. And I think that it boils down to people don't want to live here. So it's really hard to attract people. And it's like,
Yeah.
there are so many houses for sale in Indy right now. It's insane. Like, it's like a mass exodus of some of the highly educated areas
Yes.
leaving. And I'm like, this is getting so bad. It's going to get worse.
And what you're speaking to is really one of the biggest issues with the state. It's that our biggest export is college students. That that's insane. We should be educating folks here and giving them a reason to stay here and boost our economy. And how do we do that? We increase the quality of life through affordable and accessible housing, affordable and accessible healthcare, uh, making their taxes reasonable, when they're not earning over 750,000 a year. Uh, working on these things to make their quality of life better providing them something for their dollar that they are spending every year on taxes that they're forced to give. They're
Yeah.
not getting anything back. They're getting no return on that investment. So, what incentive do they have to continue investing in our state? They have none. So they leave. And if we can, implement these big changes to increase the quality of life, we can keep folks here. We can attract new people here. We can have a boon in our economy.
Hmm.
Like we can grow and become a very powerful state in the US, especially in the Midwest. We're the crossroads of America, right? Imagine what that could mean for us. That could mean so much economic opportunity if we would just invest in ourselves instead of mega corporations. So that's why we're running on these issues like universal pre-K. We're running getting ready to release a policy platform called Who's Your Homes First. I'll give you a little preview. It's a plan to build 100,000 affordable housing units across the state.
How?
It's how through taxing corporations properly. Again, I was talking about Maryland being 8.75%.
Hmm.
They have a similar population to us, more billionaires, higher GDP, everything like that. If we raise our corporate tax, we can get enough money to fund this project because it's a project that'll take 10 years to get to. But it's a project that'll pay for itself over time because because part of the plan is to create a department to build and maintain these units. They will be, they'll be stabilized, subsidized. Maximum of 25% of your income would be what the rent is. That way, folks can, you know, get get into a better place. That way, they can buy a house, uh, things like that. So, I believe that it's about putting people first, not
Hmm.
profits when it comes to housing. Corporations like Blackstone are buying single family houses and renting them out at the most exorbitant rates possible. It's causing the housing market to skyrocket.
Hmm.
So people who are trying to buy houses, they're getting priced out of buying houses. The price of rent is exorbitant. So what our plan is on this, on Hoosier Homes First, is to over the course of 5 years phase out corporate landlords. We want we want mega corporations like Blackstone out of Indiana because single family homes should belong to families, not corporate profits. And that is something that it's bold. It is. I'm not going to lie. It's a really bold move, but we're not talking about, your uncle that owns a rental property, alongside his other home. We're talking about huge corporations that buy blocks at a time
Yes.
and rent them out for ridiculous rates and don't maintain them. Another part of this plan is to create an inspector's office to investigate slumlords and to hold them accountable.
I like that.
Um, and that's how we create an environment of growth, of building people up and giving people the opportunity to thrive in our state. And that's how we attract people.
Hmm.
It's how we get folks to come here. It's how we get folks to stay here and invest their time and their education dollars and they invest their tax dollars because we're very fortunate. My wife and I are very fortunate. We rent our place. It's one half of a duplex, and our rent is our the couple that owns this property built in rent stabilization to our lease.
Oh, wow. That was nice.
Our rent cannot go up as long as we rent this property.
That's really nice.
So we pay a very, very reasonable amount of rent, and I'm super fortunate for that.
Yeah.
But so few people get that kind of opportunity. So, again, if we invest in building this housing, yes, it's an investment. I'm not going to lie, it's a lot of money. It's billions of dollars over 10 years. But we get a return on that. through more people working in the state, more people contributing to the economy, and not just that, but they're still paying rent. It sometimes may not be a ton, but they're still paying something, and that's mitigating these costs.
Oh yeah.
Um, and so I believe in that. I also believe in putting more first-time homebuyer programs out there in our state. I believe that we should be incentivizing land developers to build first-time homebuyer friendly housing instead of building $500,000 houses. Why can't we build houses that cost 250,000, right? That's still really high.
Yeah.
But in today's world, it's more.
Normal.
I see houses in my area all the time that are going for 400, 500,000, and we're in Dearborn County, Indiana. Like these, and they're nothing special, right? So if we can incentivize these developers to build first-time homebuyer focused housing and work it into their agreements that their purchasers of these properties have to be first-time homebuyers, we can get more people owning homes. We can get more people paying property taxes. That
Hmm.
makes our schools function better.
Yeah.
That makes all of our systems and service function better. It incentivizes companies to bring work here into our state, which again grows the economy. It's not trickled down, it's flowing upward, right? It's lifting people up. And that's what we are proudly running on is lifting people up, building up our state in a real positive way. It's um, and that's what's getting people excited, right? Again, it's how do we get Republicans to vote for us? Well, we're not going to get all of them to vote for us, obviously. They see a D next to my name and they're going to be like, whoa, whoa, oh, get that guy out. But there's a lot of people who hear, who do actually listen. They listen to how people talk and they listen to how, what the attitude is of folks. And they base their vote on that. And they base their vote on, does this guy get it? Does this guy talk like he understands what I'm dealing with? You know, Obviously Trump's a billionaire. He
Yeah.
doesn't understand what any of us are going through,
No.
but he talked like these people, and that's what got them hooked on him. And that's what we're talking to them like normal people. We're ditching the old playbook, of predetermined scripts that we've used for decades, and we're starting something fresh, and we are working to build a movement here, something that's fresh, something that's new, and building a coalition across the state of other young folks who want to run for office who also share these values, who are ready to step up. So that's, we're excited about what the future of this state can be, and I think that we have a real opportunity to make this progress here in Indiana.
No, that's great. I'm so glad to see somebody out in a very red area running in that county because that's been a big issue that we've been bringing awareness to is that a lot of areas don't even have a Democrat on the ballot.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. Um, when we talked to people about running for office, um, they were like, like they were helping us kind of figure out, what our goals should be fundraising wise, what our goals should be, all these things, right? And what pretty much nobody understood was that this district is impossible to calculate based on previous elections. This district has been gerrymandered so much that the district has shifted, like physically shifted so much. The demographics are completely different, right? Um, Not only that, there's only been two elections with this map. The first one did not have a candidate to run. The second one did not have a good candidate to run. The candidate who ran last year, I know her. She, you know, she means well, but she wasn't politically strong. And it's that's where the difference is in this campaign is we're building up something that's bigger than what we've seen in decades. We are working really hard to get people excited, to move people to get out there, knock on doors with us, to talk to folks about this movement. And, so when we talk about fundraising numbers, well, the only thing I've really looked at that I've cared about is how much has my opponent raised?
Hmm.
And last year, our opponent only raised $40,000. And most of that came from corporate PACs. And so far, we've raised close to $5,000. We've been running this campaign for a month now.
Yeah, it's like it's not been long.
Yeah. So people are excited. We've had people donate, uh, you know, not just dollars, but their hard work. People who, like our logo was completely donated by a graphic designer. Our campaign announcement video was donated by a local videographer.
Nice.
Things like this. And then also, we've had over, we've had well over $1,000 of small dollar donations that have come from people from all over who are excited about what we're talking about. That's the difference of where we are right now versus what other people have done in the past, and especially, fighting back against this narrative. We are getting people excited about something, and we're continuing to, you know, push for small dollar donations. We're working to get the supportive unions behind us because, again, I've been working to organize a union for the past 2 years. I'm a big union guy. Um, and when I go and I talk um, to other unions, they're excited that someone that actually has been done union organizing is running because we're talking about issues that actually matter to them. Things like banning captive audience meetings, things like repealing right to work. Um, this is what the difference is with our campaign versus what we've seen in the past. Is this is a campaign on the future that is running on modern policies that people are ready for. It's not a campaign that is rooted in the past. It's not a campaign that is going to, you know, hold back. We're not going to pull our punches. We're going to tell people what we believe. We believe in progressive policies that make people's lives better. And I'm proud to say that. I have a shirt somewhere. I was going to wear it today, but I have a shirt somewhere where that I wear out and about, and it just says billionaires shouldn't exist. And
Love
I wear that out, and I've had people be like, talk to me about that take. That's an interesting take to have. Why do you think that? Don't they create jobs for us? Like,
it.
well,
Wonderful.
that's what they want you to think, you
Yeah,
know? But don't they also take all of our money? Don't they also take handouts and corporate welfare that
bailouts.
could be bailouts that could be going to increasing the quality of our schools and our roads and giving us quality health care and getting us affordable housing?
Absolutely.
These are the things that, like, oh, well, I guess, yeah, that makes sense. And, Indiana doesn't have a lot of billionaires. I think we only have like three.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Fortunate.
when you talk about the
Fortunate.
1%, right? I mean, the 1% of the 1% of the 1% is what that's talking about. And, we're like to pay for our housing plan. We're talking about raising the corporate tax rate from where it is currently to 6.5%. That is going to generate a lot of revenue for us. I forget the exact number off the top of my head, but it'll generate a lot of revenue for us. Legalizing marijuana will also generate hundreds of millions of dollars in the state. Um, Taxing folks who make over uh, over $750,000 a year, raising their taxes by 2%.
Seems
I
reasonable.
Yeah, it's not a ton. It's a lot more than what they pay right now. It's because they don't pay anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Well,
we want to close these loopholes. So yeah, I know we're running out of time. I could talk for days about
no,
this.
no, no. It's great. No, it's good. You're very passionate. I love that. Oh, somebody put a hat on my head. Thank you. But tell everyone where they can follow you. Tell people where they can donate if they want to donate. Tell us that because I know that you need followers to share your message. And I know you're on both TikTok and Instagram. So tell us your handles and all of that.
Yeah, so my handle everywhere, I think everywhere is Hunter, the number four, Indiana. I know I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on Instagram. I'm not super active on Instagram. I'm really active here on TikTok. You can go to my website, huntercollins.org. I have a link in my bio actually that has all of my different links to it on it. And there you can donate to our campaign. You can go to, if you just want to type in a nice, easy URL, you can go to supporthuntercollins.com. That redirects you right to my Act Blue. So you can donate there. And again, we're just asking for small dollar donations right now. I know that people are struggling. I know what this economy is. But all we're asking is if you believe in this cause, if you believe in building something better, if you can donate just a few dollars, if enough people do that, we can change how this state works and we can make it work for everyone. And so, again, we're trying to, and also I just want to throw out, we're trying to reach a goal right now. We're trying to raise $2,000 by July 15th. We're at, I believe, $1,135 right now. So we've made really good progress. And, I would love for us to get there and um, continue building that momentum because all that money is going toward voter outreach and getting people informed that this campaign is happening and it's moving fast and moving forward. So, that's how people can support me. Follow me on here on TikTok. I'd love to have you guys take a look at my page and yeah.
Awesome. I love it. I will share little clips of this as well to try to get you some more people because I know the more people you have, more traction you have. And if you have, a few dollars, buy Hunter a cup of coffee through his campaign page.
Yeah,
Kind of that idea is just like every dollar counts. So
absolutely.
go follow
Five
him,
five
donate.
dollars buys I believe it's five, let me see here. Something like 15 door hangers.
That's a lot.
That's 15 households that we can get our message out to.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
15 possible new voters.
so
So,
every dollar does count, people. So even if you just have $4, give him $4. That's fine. Every
yep.
little bit counts. And Hunter, I am so glad to have talked to you. You seem like a great candidate to me. So
Thank you.
I wish you the absolute best. And if you ever want to come on again, I am happy to do so. If you want to get more information out to people, okay?
Absolutely. Definitely look forward to coming back. Whenever you want to have me, just give me a shout. I'm right here. So we
Fantastic.
appreciate it.
I hope you have a great weekend, okay?
You as well. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching.